Hello and welcome to the Leadership Coaches. My name is Zoe Lewis and today I would like to take a stand and to talk about Black Lives Matter. It's something that's obviously trending at the moment, but really importantly, it's something that really matters to me and I care about this, and I want to make sure that we get as many people as we can on board with actually taking action where you see things that are not appropriate. So I thought I would start this by first of all acknowledging the unrest in America and putting out my empathy to them. You know, this must be a really difficult time. Black lives do matter, as every life matters. So there shouldn't be ever a reason to use non-diverse practices in order to abuse somebody else or to take advantage of a situation. And so I'm really keen that we can understand more about what drives this behaviour and take a stance to stop it. So when we start to think about George Floyd or any other examples of Black Lives Matter, what happens is that there is a bias, whether it's conscious or unconscious, that drives the behaviour that then leads to the sort of results that we've seen in this example. Now, our own biases is what I'm going to talk about today, because we can start to take control of them. And you may well know, if you've worked with me as well, you'll know I'm really passionate about understanding yourself, because you can only take action once you understand where your conscious and unconscious biases are. And then when you start to take that action, you're responsible. You take responsibility for yourself, and then you make that and turn that into something. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that, and also to share a little bit about my own experience and story as well. So just as I was about to produce this video this morning, something popped into my LinkedIn and I thought, oh, that's brilliant. I'm just going to share that with you now. So this is a poem that I found on a LinkedIn contact, which is Peris Anastasiou, and he's the HR operations specialist at Google. He shared that his VP had sent out a poem, and the poem really resonates. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. So I genuinely think that we have to look out for each other, and we have to speak up about what we think is right and wrong in this world. And when it comes to diversity and inclusivity, the first thing is about looking at ourselves and starting to recognise where are our own conscious and unconscious biases. Now, I always do this first of all by using a number of different techniques. So I try and tune in. I think I'm quite self-aware, but I'm not aware enough to know what my unconscious biases are. So I use a website called Project Implicit, which is a project that's being run by Harvard University that helps highlight your own conscious and unconscious biases. Conscious biases we already tend to know about. Unconscious biases are those that are hidden deep, and we're not to blame for them. We've been brought up in a certain way, and that's what's created our pattern of behaviour. However, they are changeable, and that is the bit that I really want to talk about, is leaning in. When we lean in, we become curious. So instead of me thinking, that guy over there who's got a face full of hair and looks rather unkempt, I wonder what he's about, and start to make conclusions and decisions, I ask, hiya, how are you? What's going on in your world? What do you do? And I learn a story, that actually works in the city, in London, and has a very different background to what I imagine and my perception of that individual. So it's really interesting to start to lean in and to learn more. And only when we lean in and learn more do we start to change our neural pathways, and we can start to think differently about things. The other thing I'd say is that it's about taking responsibility. So taking action where you see something that is inappropriate. And here I'm going to share a personal story. I'm part of a WhatsApp group. Oh, I'm not now, but that'll come out later. I was part of a WhatsApp group where I was watching some common jokes and fun discussions going on just as we went into lockdown. And this joking, etc., turned into a bit of banter. And I always think there's a really fine line on banter about whether it's okay or whether it becomes abusive. And certainly if it starts to come into an area of diversity and inclusion, I get very passionate. So a joke was put on the group about Philip Schofield coming out, and that now we were going into lockdown, he'd have to stay back in. Lots and lots of people jumped on the bandwagon and started saying, oh, that's really funny, what a great joke. And immediately my shackles were up. And so I put in my response and said, actually, I think this is completely inappropriate. That's not what this group was set up for, and it's disrespectful, so let's stop it. What I was very surprised about is that I was told that if I didn't have a sense of humour, I should leave the group. And the leader of the group was the one who asked me to leave the group. I did. I left, and many other consequences have happened as a result. But what I know is that I stood up for what was right. Interesting enough, I might have been perceived as being a little bit of a prude, or, can't take a joke. But actually, this is where this stuff matters, because it rolls from there. It starts with one thing and it leads to another. So it's a snowball effect. I often talk about nipping it in the bud, and we have to nip this behaviour in the bud, and it takes brave people to stand up and say, that's not right. So that's the stuff that I really want to see more of us doing and taking action. And if I just bring it back to our focus of what we do at the Leadership Coaches, it really is about increasing your own awareness so that you can then lead the way. And certainly in terms of leaders with diversity and inclusion, it's the thing that we need to do. We role model, because people look to us and they go, so what's your behaviour? Are you laughing at the joke? Are you in on this? Because then I know where you stand. But if you're not, then I also know where you stand, and I genuinely know that you have diversity and inclusivity authentically in your values. Well, as we move forward, let's see what happens. I genuinely really want to see a change in this world for the better. But remember, every single one of us has the power to make this happen. I wish you well. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and we'll see more of each other again.